Old age is the happiest time of life. What if the golden years of your life aren't behind you, but ahead? What if getting older doesn't mean fading into the background, but stepping into a quieter, richer freedom? You might be surprised, because old age isn't the end. It's the beginning of a kind of happiness we never had time to understand before. Welcome to Live Stoic. Live strong, where we trade illusions for truth, where emotions are felt but not obeyed, where clarity is power and discipline is freedom. This is not just a channel, it's a mindset. It's a journey of conscious living. Let's begin. Jason and the 51st year. Jason was the kind of man who lived for one thing only. Tomorrow will be better than today. He was hardworking, relentless, rarely laughed, always looking forward, and never back. At 30, he built his career. At 40, he bought a house, invested, expanded his company. At 50, he prepared to retire early and finally live his real life. But then came the 51st year. One quiet morning, while making coffee, his right hand went numb. No warning, no pain, just a strange blur over one eye and a cold silence in his chest. He woke up in a hospital. The doctor looked him straight in the eye and said, "You're lucky. You weren't supposed to wake up today." Jason went home. Alone. He stood before the mirror, really looked at himself for the first time. Gray hair, lines by the eyes. But what struck him most was the emptiness in his own gaze. And then it hit him. He hadn't really lived. He had only existed. Not because he didn't have time, but because he always believed he'd have more time. From that day on, Jason changed. He didn't run. He didn't retire. He stayed. And for the first time, he started living fully, presently. Every morning, he brewed tea for himself. He watched the fog outside the window like it was a new painting. He called his brother, whom he hadn't spoken to in 15 years, just to ask, "Hey, are you doing okay?" He laughed more, argued less. He wrote in a journal every night, not for the world, but to hear his own heart speak. In his final public talk, Jason said, "I used to think aging was decline, but the truth is, I only began to live in my 51st year, and that was the first year I ever felt truly happy." You don't need a stroke to wake up. You just need a still moment. And one honest choice. Choose to live. Today. From the bottom of my heart, I want to express my sincere gratitude to each and every one of you, no matter where you are in the world, for taking the time to watch this video. Your presence and support are the driving force that keeps me creating and sharing. No words can truly capture the depth of my appreciation. Thank you for being here. Thank you for believing. And thank you for walking this journey with me. Old age may just be the happiest chapter of our lives, one that many never expect. My doctor once wrote something that resonates deeply. The older we get, the freer we become. As children, we were confined by rules. As adults, we were bound by responsibilities. But in old age, those chains begin to fall away, one by one. No more being told when to sleep or wake. Want to stay up late to read a book? Go ahead. Rise early for a slow morning walk. No one will scold you. You're no longer a child under anyone's thumb, and not a stressed-out adult fighting deadlines. You're finally you. And if your spouse grows distant, Due to fear, health, or fatigue, it's no longer the crisis it once was. Arguments are fewer, emotions less explosive. You've learned to let go. If she no longer shows the affection she once did, so be it. You're not threatened anymore. After all, who's going to yell at you now? There's no more pressure to grind, to study hard for a better future. That phase has passed. If you've retired, your books can rest. And if you're still working, it's not out of desperation, but out of habit, mastery, even joy. You know your craft. You've earned the right to take it easy. Even love, once a roaring fire, becomes a softer flame. You've heard the stories. Younger people devastated by heartbreak, some even taking their own lives. It makes you pause. Why rush to death over love? When death is already coming, slow and steady, like the setting sun. There's no need to hurry toward it over something so fleeting. A heartbreak at 25 feels like the end of the world. But at 70, it's just a lesson you've already learned. In this calm stage, your emotions are tempered. You've grown out of jealousy, suspicion, obsession. There's no hiding passwords, no secret rendezvous, no panicked lies. No pressure to impress. Even your appearance? Who are you competing with? A repainted old car is still old. It creaks, but it still moves, and there's peace in that honesty. Of course, not every elderly couple stays together. Some take each other to court, seeking peace at the tail end of a life lived together. And surprisingly, it's not tragic. It can be a relief. By then, their children are grown and living their own lives. Divorce doesn't shatter a family the way it once might have. Sometimes, letting go of a domineering husband or a cruel wife feels like reclaiming the little time left. This, too, is a kind of happiness, knowing you don't have to endure pain for the sake of appearances anymore. Walking away at 70 isn't running away. It's choosing peace over pretense. But here's something even fewer people talk about. Old age can bring new love. Around us, many hearts have been left behind, widowed, divorced, separated by fate. And among them are people who still long for companionship, for warmth, for conversation over tea. Maybe it won't have the wild passion of young love. But that's the beauty of it. No more jealousy. No games. Just two people who've lived enough to understand what really matters. Young people, when broken by love, often spiral, drinking, gambling, collapsing under pride and pain. Not always because they loved too deeply, but because they didn't yet know how to lose. But the elderly, we've lost plenty, and we've survived every loss. That's the wisdom youth doesn't have. The ability to carry heartbreak gently without letting it destroy us. So is old age the end? Or is it the beginning of peace, freedom, and a deeper kind of joy? But life doesn't always stay this quiet. Just as we learned in the last part, old age is not an ending, but a time of clarity, calm, and unexpected joy. And one of the reasons it feels so liberating is how differently the elderly think. You see, when you've lived through most of life, you begin to see things others don't. There's a quiet voice in your head that says, "We don't have much time left. So why waste it on sadness, on anger, on foolishness?" That thought alone is enough to lift the weight off your shoulders. Why be exhausted chasing things that don't matter? Why cry over a lost sweet potato when you could enjoy some warm, filling cassava instead? Old age teaches us that everything is relative, especially love. Gone is the desperate search for perfection or fairy tale ideals. We've seen enough to know that such dreams often end in disillusionment. That's why the elderly love differently, with more acceptance, less illusion, and there's no more pretending either. When someone asks, "How old are you?" there's no need to lie. No reason to shave off years like before. Why would we? Wrinkles don't lie, and honestly, they don't need to. They're not flaws, they're footprints of the life we've walked. Strangely enough, the older we are, the more compliments we receive. "Wow, you still look so young," they say. "I wish I could age like you." And they mean it. Because aging gracefully without hiding is its own kind of beauty. For men, there's another relief. Having a beautiful wife in old age no longer comes with the same worries. You're not on edge anymore about other men looking at her or trying to steal her heart. That fire cools with time, and peace takes its place. Let's be honest. Who hasn't been gullible at some point? Who hasn't melted under sweet words or fallen into a moment of weakness? Even the strongest hearts get cloudy sometimes. Yes, even in old age, couples argue. There are disagreements, silent days, and moments when the heart aches for space. But at this age, we know better than to make rash choices. Gentlemen, don't panic when your wife threatens divorce in anger. Most women by now can see right through the smooth talkers, the sweet promises that lead only to chaos. And for women, having a handsome, charming husband isn't a source of anxiety like it once was. Because with age, men calm down, their tempers cool, they become less impulsive, more thoughtful. They start to treasure the quiet joys of family, not chase after fantasies. By this time, a couple has spent decades together. They've fought, forgiven, laughed, grieved. And through it all, they've grown used to each other's flaws. What once irritated now becomes something to smile at. You accept each other fully, because you've seen every side, the good and the bad, and still stayed. And let's not forget, that shared journey builds a kind of love that's deep and unshakable. It's not loud or dramatic, but it runs deep. It's in the glances, the old jokes, the silence that feels safe. Of course, not every old couple is silent and sweet. Some bicker, and often. But isn't that a bit charming too? One's hard of hearing, the other misinterprets everything. Did you say soup? No, I said you. That's how it goes. Misunderstandings, little flare-ups, all part of the rhythm of long companionship. And yet, with all the noise, the dreams that once burned in youth have settled into ashes. Gone are the restless nights, the aching ambition. They know now. Life is not about chasing what sparkles, but learning to love what's already in your hands. They know. Even if those old dreams came true, what would it matter? What was once a mountain turns out to be a mirage. When you're old, wisdom whispers, be content, be still, be thankful for ordinary days. True happiness lies not in applause, not in titles, but in waking up without regrets. Many elders reflect with quiet sorrow, if only I had known how to live better when I was young. They remember chasing illusions, hurting others, hurting themselves. That's why now they live differently, softer, slower, wiser. Old age becomes a blessing when you can look at the world without envy, when praise doesn't make you arrogant, and criticism doesn't make you angry. Why? Because you finally understand. You're not a saint to be praised, nor a villain to be condemned. You're human. You have flaws. And you've made peace with that. So, is this what peace looks like? A quiet mind, a softened heart, a life lived without masks? In the last part, we saw how old age, brings clarity, contentment, and the wisdom to embrace peace. Now, let's go deeper into what truly sets the elderly free: the absence of desire. By this stage, praise or criticism, it all feels the same. If someone criticizes, let them. If they praise, fine. Neither changes who I am, because now I no longer crave validation. Not from others, not even from myself. I am simply an old man, flawed and real, deserving of understanding more than judgment. At this age, I no longer dream of getting rich. The ghost of greed that once whispered in my ear has finally gone silent. I don't lie awake, calculating ways to earn more, save more, become more. The children are grown now. No more school fees, no more hospital bills that make you sweat. So just having enough is enough. There's no more competition with the world. No comparing homes, careers, or cars. The spirit is lighter, the heart more open, and the mind so much more at ease. Financially, life also feels more relaxed. Many elders have managed to save a little over the years. Maybe a house is paid off. Maybe the car no longer has monthly payments. The heavy burdens of youth are finally off their shoulders. And their children? No longer dependent. They have jobs, families, dreams of their own, and those dreams are now separate from yours. As elders, our needs are simple. We eat less, spend less, and find joy in the small. A cup of tea, a slice of fruit, a breeze through the trees. That's enough. But the biggest gift? Time. Finally, time belongs to us. We're no longer chasing after it, bound by schedules, drowning in deadlines. We can sit on a park bench and stare at the clouds for hours, not because we're lazy, but because we've earned it. Even the sky seems more beautiful when you're not rushing past it. Unlike vacations in youth, which were always interrupted by chores and worry, retirement offers a rare kind of peace. For many people, retirement is the dream. They work their whole lives just for the freedom to one day do nothing. In America, in Canada, anywhere, people talk about retirement like a finish line. And when it comes, it really is a reward, a gift from both nature and society. Old age becomes a gentle pause, where every morning feels like a Sunday morning. No alarm clocks. No meetings. You can lie in bed for as long as you wish, unless, of course, your bladder reminds you it's time to get up. That's the only thing left that dares to interrupt your peace. And if you're still working, it's different now. You don't stress like before. You don't panic when income dips. You won't lose your house, your car, your marriage, or your identity. Things are steady now. Financial needs have calmed, and experience lets you handle tasks with ease. What once took hours now takes minutes, because you've done it all before. Even your coworkers look at you differently. There's a kind of quiet respect that comes, not just from age, but from experience, from endurance, from knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. And if work ends, you don't panic. In fact, it might be a blessing. A natural way to step back and let go, without guilt or regret, because now you have a reason to rest. If you feel like returning to work, you do it not for money, but for joy, for connection, for fun. You're not building a career anymore. You're just living. If the work is fulfilling, stay. If it becomes a burden, simply step away. That freedom to choose is one of the purest forms of happiness. Of course, aging isn't without its shadows. The body slows down. Illnesses come and go. No one escapes it. not the strong, not the wealthy, not even the kind. But here's what's remarkable. The joy of a day without pain becomes a miracle. A morning when your knees don't ache. An evening when your back feels light. You smile simply because you feel whole. Young people don't understand that kind of joy. They haven't lived through enough pain to recognize the beauty of its absence. But old people do. They feel it deeply. So perhaps growing old isn't about loss. It's about shifting your gaze, finding joy where you never looked before. Earlier, we spoke about the quiet joys of retirement, the gift of time, and how even one pain-free day feels like a blessing. Now, let's talk about something we often forget until it's too late: health. You see, people often don't recognize happiness until it's gone, especially when it comes to health. When you still have strength in your legs, breath in your lungs, and clarity in your mind, it's easy to take it all for granted. Imagine this. You have a massive piece of jade sitting in your backyard. It's beautiful, but you don't know what it is, so you ignore it. You walk by it every day, chasing after a tiny gemstone on a ring, because it's shiny, because it's obvious. But isn't that how we treat our health? We only realize how precious it was when it starts to fade. Someone once wrote, "When you're old and you wake up in the morning to pain in your bones, be thankful, because that pain means you're still alive." I'd even add, knowing I'm alive is a joy, and knowing that one day I will die peacefully, that's a greater joy. It sounds strange, doesn't it? But think about it. From the moment we were born, death has walked beside us. And yet we pretend it's not there. But is it really something to fear? Do you remember the old story from Genesis? When God cast Adam and Eve out of Eden, he declared, "From now on, you must sweat for every grain of rice." That wasn't just a punishment. It was a truth about human life. To live is to struggle, and to struggle is to grow. Even in Buddhist teachings, it's said, life is suffering. And yet the goal isn't to escape life, but to understand suffering, to live through it mindfully. Life is beautiful, yes, but it is also painful. That's what makes it real. So yes, to live is a joy, but perhaps to die peacefully is also a kind of joy. Not long ago, I attended the funeral of an old friend. His family sobbed, clung to one another in grief. Their cries echoed through the hall. But as I stood there, quietly, I found myself smiling, not out of disrespect, but with understanding. These people didn't yet grasp the simple truth. Birth brings death. Death follows birth. Were they hoping he would live forever? That we would all escape the rhythm of creation? To me, death is not a tragedy. It's a return. Like going home after a long journey. A beginning, not an end. A friend of mine, a poet, once wrote, "I'll go ahead, I'll wait for you there." Isn't that beautiful? Like someone saying, "Don't be afraid. I've just gone ahead to prepare the way." One after another, we all step into that line. We may not know where it leads, but we all follow it eventually. When you're young, you fear the unknown. But when you're old, you start to see death not as a thief, but as a guide. A soft voice calling you home. A sight. If you've made it past 50, that's already a blessing. Every year beyond that is a bonus. A sacred extra chapter in your story. At this age, death doesn't sneak up. It walks beside you like an old friend. And one day when it's time, you simply take its hand. In the last part, we looked at death not as something to fear, but as a gentle return, the final chapter of a meaningful life. But what about the time we have left before that final return? How do we live it, feel it, treasure it? Well, I like to think I'm already living my second life. You see, the average age of most people in the world hasn't even reached 50. So having crossed that mark, I consider everything beyond it a bonus. A new chapter. A second chance. The life before 50. That was my first life, now complete. It was filled with joys and sorrows, victories and regrets, laughter and tears. That story has been written, and I've closed its final page. This new life I'm in now, this second life, is lighter, freer. Why? Because I've gathered experience from the previous one. I now understand the difference between what is truly valuable and what is just glitter. I know what happiness looks like, and what only pretends to be happiness. I still believe that death is a journey home. But you know what I'm afraid of? Not death itself, but not being able to return home properly, like a car with a blown engine stranded on the highway. Broken, helpless, the engine sputtering, refusing to start. The driver stuck inside, not dead, not alive. Isn't that what truly frightens us? That's why I've written my will. I've told my family clearly, if I ever fall unconscious, and after 3 days I don't come back, please don't keep me here with tubes and machines. Let me go. Let me return home peacefully. Some people might judge that. But let me ask you, what do you think of the doctor they call the Angel of Death? Yes. I forget his name exactly. I think it's something like Kevorkian, right? In my heart, that man isn't death. He's a bodhisattva, a savior, someone who had the courage to help others leave this world with dignity, without being trapped in suffering. He even went to court, went to jail. But to do what he did, it takes immense compassion, not cruelty. I once searched for a photo of him, hoping to place it on my altar. I couldn't find one. But maybe one day, society will understand. Maybe the law will change. Because when someone is already dying, why must they suffer more first? Why must we delay the inevitable and stretch it out like a punishment? Sometimes, mercy looks like letting go. As I grow older, I find myself deeply grateful, not just for life, but for the miracle of the body itself. Tell me, have you ever seen a machine not made from platinum or steel that runs non-stop for 60 or even 70 years and still works? Think of your heart, your lungs, your kidneys, your brain, your stomach. All these delicate parts, made of flesh, not metal. And yet they never stop. They endure storms. They take beatings. And still, they function. Or consider this. Is there any plumbing system that lasts for 60 years without a full replacement? Our blood vessels, so thin, so fragile, have been carrying life through our body day and night for decades. Yes, some have hardened, some have narrowed. There are leaks, blockages, clogs, but still, the body goes on. Even if your heart has a small leak, even if there's a bit of fat in your arteries, you're still alive. You're still functioning. Isn't that something to celebrate? Even if we visit the toilet more than we used to, we smile. Because our internal faucet, after all these years, still works. A little slower, a little squeakier, but still faithful. Meanwhile, look at the taps in your kitchen. Made of rust-proof metal, thick and solid. After 7 years, they need to be replaced. But your body, soft, vulnerable, is still here after decades. One day, this heart will stop beating. But until that day, I will live with grace, with clarity, with strength. I won't chase what fades. I'll protect my peace. I'll honor the gift of growing old, because time is not a threat. It's a teacher. And I'm finally ready to listen. Thank you for your time. If an idea in this video touched you, let it settle in your heart. Each time you return, you might hear something new. Perhaps it will reach even deeper. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. See you in the next video, where we'll take another step together on this journey of inner discovery.